And Bo had said something that I now this thing I am ignorant in. Are like weaves and stuff like that? Is that black culture? Like, is that
Hair
accepted
is
as black
culture.
culture? But
Hair
like
is.
particularly like the weave stuff, because that was a point of contention. Is
Mhm.
that defined as a part of black culture? Like wearing, whether it be the weave or the eyelashes, like is that considered a part of black culture?
It's a part of culture. How you groom yourself is a part of culture. Grooming is culture. Black culture, I mean, when it comes to cornrows, braids, um, feed-ins, just all of the different styles that Black women do, the fact that you can't really find a picture of us 10 years apart with the same hairstyle, that's a part of our culture. It's a part of how we shift ourselves. It's a part of our grooming practices. So I guess if you want to ask, are eyelashes Black culture? That really sounds myopic, but is grooming how we groom ourselves Black culture? Yeah.
Okay, so this will be a yes or no question because I agree with grooming. I'm talking about weave specifically. Are you saying yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ladies, particular? Because I don't wear weave. My daughters don't wear weave, just in terms of my prescriptions. But would it be? Would you guys consider that a part of black culture, like the weave and the hair and all that?
Um, I could say it's been integrated into it since wigs have a long history of being seen as a sign of being upper echelon. I think that's more a classist cultural symbol that we've carried into our current culture, because if you think about it, a chick who goes and gets 30 inches, and it's in a way it's to flaunt that she has the money to spend on that hair. And I think it's just integrated as a sign of wealth, just like we have a lot of things that have been integrated into our culture that are not necessarily from our culture. But I mean, isn't that the whole point of having a growing culture, is integrating different things into it and then enmeshing that into the lives of everyone involved and passing it down?
Integration, tough, but development of the things that you create organically, yes. But just adopting other people's stuff, I don't know if that then bolsters my culture.
Well, then if that was true, right, which it is, right, which it is, then it's okay for white women to wear box braids and wear certain hairstyles, right, that black women claim to own, right? Now, once again, guys, I mean, here's the thing, right, and this is the issue that, Pretty had with Saint. Saint is saying, listen, if you're a black woman, you once again, you see it on Stop Playing with Trey all the time. Anytime you ask black women, what is the best thing about black women? They say it's our hair, but yet the first thing you see on a lot of black women's head is somebody else's hair, is wigs or weaves. It's a straight blonde wig, and we're like, hold on, how are you able to wear that? Why are you wearing that? Once again, you can't grow natural straight blonde hair, blonde wigs. So if you're going to talk about culture, right, that belongs to white culture. Blonde hair belongs to white culture. When I sit here and see some sisters, with blue contacts, right, and blonde hair, once again, it's like, ma'am, that is white culture. Why are you trying to mimic that? Love yourself. But of course, you saw how Pretty Intellectual got upset. She felt some type of way about that. And it's like, well, ma'am, once again, facts are facts. And you can't sit here and say that, well, listen, any color that I want to put in my head is mine, right? And well, if that's the case, right, then you can go ahead and stretch that pretty much amongst any damn thing, right? And all True is pretty much saying is we need to define a lot of this stuff, right? So for a good example, man, when you look at the Indians, they have a red dot on their head. It is called the bindi, right? The red dot is applied between the two eyebrows on the forehead, where Hindus, I might be saying that name wrong, but where Hindus believe their third eye or chakra resides. The bindi is used to boost the chakra's power of connecting the individual with the internal spiritual world, right? So once again, that's cultural to your Indians. That's the reason why you will only see them wearing it, right? That is culture, and then they have meaning on top of that. This is why they do that, right? So if you've seen other people doing it or whatnot, that comes from your Indian race, because that is their culture. Same thing goes for your African dashikis, right? When you see a lot of your African Americans wearing it, right? They want to be closer to the African brothers and and sisters. They want to be closer to their roots. That's why you will see brothers, wearing dashikis. They're not even trying to change that culture. They just want to be closer to it. And just a quick Google search, the dashiki symbolizes affirmation and a return to African roots for most people. African Americans have worn the dashiki shirt to symbolize their African history and promote Black pride since the late 1960s, right? So once again, man, define it, right? And that's pretty much all True is shooting at. Like, just define it, right? And once again, that's all True is pretty much saying. Define it. Can we have something, man, that's concrete? Now, of course, once again, they're gonna, people like Pretty. You can say you're pretty intellectual, right? But once again, you can't even read between the lines. You can't simply just understand. You want to be disingenuous, right? Because he says that, hey, well, listen, what do we own? What do we have a full patent on, right? And you're gonna have some, cultures and, certain places, man, that try to share, certain things from cultures, right? But let's just continue.
Well, I don't think that, you look at the Victorian era, I don't know if in Africa they were wearing wigs in the Victorian era and eras before that. I just know that, which is why I said it's not something that we necessarily created. I don't know the origin of that. If anyone else does, that would be great to know. But as far as I'm concerned, it is a part of our culture, our hair culture, and art. Hair is art, especially in Black culture. So if hair is art, then art is an artist culture, then yeah, it's inherently a part of our culture.
Okay.
It may not, as I said though before, it may not be respected by others and valued. So others devalue it and say, we don't consider that culture, so that is not a part of your culture.
I guess what I would like to see and maybe even know is, what do we monopolize? Because hair is biology. Hair's not culture. The representation of how it's styled maybe could belong to culture, but everybody grows hair on every part of this planet. So it's not definitive. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. We keep taking things. People eat food, people dance, people dress themselves, people style themselves. That happens everywhere, but you can clearly differentiate someone who's maybe from Asia compared to maybe America, and you start chopping it up. We belong in a country that has no face. We're Black people in a country that has everybody here. And then we're saying Black culture, and I'm a Black man, and I'm trying to understand, what is it? First of all, the defensive nature for someone to question, well, what is Black culture? And all we're saying is, we don't got to explain ourselves to you. It's a non-starter. It makes no sense. We should be able to stand on something and say, this is what it is. But what I hear a lot of times is pain. We start talking about inventions. We start talking about things that we contributed to the nations in the world, in this country. Fair, but there's still no monopoly, because we don't own entertainment. We are entertainers, but we do not produce entertainment for the most part. We don't monopolize there. So what, again, would be Black culture? And
before we do that, could you give a parallel to another culture that has a monopoly on something specific, just so we could kind of know exactly where to go with that?
Absolutely. Germans are known for their ingenuity in their manufacturing practices in the automobile industry. Hands down.
Monopoly, though.
Huh?
No,
Monopoly.
yeah, that's not a monopoly.
Yeah,
When it comes to high-end manufacturing in that particular sector,
every country has that.
Every country.
There's no way that's a monopoly.
Has
Toyota sells more.
Every country, pretty much modern country has a luxury version of a car, or a performance version of a car. Every last one of them.
Yeah. Italians,
including here.
Would an example maybe be like Saudi Arabia has like monopoly on oils? The Middle East has a monopoly on oil. That's resource based, but that's
that's not a culture. That's just resources that so happen to be there, and it's not a monopoly either.
That was based on monopoly.
Right now with that.
I'm speaking. Go ahead.
I think True asked a question that wasn't really relevant to the idea of culture. Like, you don't need a monopoly for something to be a culture. Culture is customs, as we said, customs, traditions, practices, beliefs. Like, that's
and art.
Culture. And art, yeah, it doesn't have to do with a monopoly. Like most times customs are also shared. Like
But
if you're, you,
there should be a differentiation, and that's what I'm
yes, but
struggling.
not a monopoly.
Okay, maybe monopoly
Yeah.
wasn't the proper word, but I believe that I'm trying to communicate what we may understand, what I'm alluding to, or maybe I need to do a better job. What is it that we are known for as Black Americans?
Expression, which is why we're used by other cultures to sell.
Now, Pretty is right in this situation. Now, granted, and this might be a very weak example, but when you look at Taco Bell, right, you can say Taco Bell has its own little culture, right? It's Taco Bell. When you think of Taco Bell, you think of junk food, think of the fast food, right? But what does that derive from? It derives from your Mexican food, right? And this is why people say nobody wants that knockoff food, right? Nobody wants that stuff on it. We can just go ahead and go get the real tacos. We can go ahead and get the real stuff where your stomach ain't bubbling all night, right? When you're sitting on the toilet all day, every day because you just ate a whole bag of, whatever that stuff is. And I was about to say Chipotle. Let's bring Chipotle up. Once again, that's another Mexican restaurant, but where does that derive from? Right? Your Mexican culture, your Mexican roots, right? I would mainly say Taco Bell, but of course Chipotle as well. Same goes for Brady Tacos, right? Brady Tacos, that would be cultural. So, once again, when you just think about it, right? When you look at everybody on the panel, it seems like everybody has their own idea of what culture means, right? And this is why I say this panel is great, and these are great discussions, because everybody's able to share the ideas, right? Because it seems like everybody has a different idea of what culture is. So, of course, y'all let me know down below, what do y'all think culture is, in y'all opinion?
What they're trying to get, because we're good at expressing it. So wigs and everything, every other culture does it, but it's not until we do it, it becomes hyper whatever. It can be pink braids, would be this if a white person wear it as fashion. However, we set the trends and change the culture. So whatever we do, we make ghetto look good, whatever it is, we do it what we have, whether it's drag culture that has been incorporated in how we style ourselves, our hair, our makeup. We monopolize in spreading the culture and expression. So we are the people that they use to sell their products because we're good tap dancing niggas, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I also think another part when it comes to education and paving the way and creating space in places where there's no space, that's something that's true for Black Americans. There's something very unique about Black American culture. And for me on the outside looking in, it's different from being on an island where it's all Black people. Black Americans have been able to create spaces where quite literally they were trying not to give them space. Like historically, Black colleges and universities, even being able to create universities and educational institutions to where Black people could learn when they were being pushed out of PWIs. That is something that is such an integral part of Black culture that should be honored. And that is a monopoly, because what other Black country has created, because they didn't have to. So that is quite literally something that is a monopoly and very, 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 very unique to Black culture here.
Yeah, to that point, resistance, influence, and ingenuity are also parts.
And creation. I like that.
Creativity. Yep.
And anything else they hid from us and said they created, that too.
Do you think Black people are the most cosplayed in the world?
Yes.
For sure. For sure. Globally. Absolutely.
Is that good? Is that substantive true? In your estimation?
Yeah, and thank you for that. I think that from that perspective, I think we can build, because those are very definitive characteristics and traits that I would say that, yeah, universally, we are that. Like Sweeney said, from every region of America, you're gonna see that spirit exist if there's us that are involved in that mix. So I agree.
And once again, true is just pretty much saying that, once again, what do we own? Like, where do we say, where's the threshold? Where do we say that we own this, right? How do we know do we own this, right? Is it who was ever the first one? In my opinion, who's ever the first one to think of it, that's part of their culture. And once their culture start, and once their people start to take that and start to apply that within their daily lives, that becomes a culture. Like what becomes a culture? Define it. And Pretty brings up that, well, sometimes a lot of this stuff can be shared. Things in the culture can be shared, and it's like, okay, well, I would say once again, you have your sisters. Even Pretty said, whatever color I want to put in my hair, that belongs to me. Whatever I want to put in my head, that belongs to me. But then when a white woman says, okay, well, hey, well, we're gonna definitely take your word for it, right? And they start to then put in box braids, now it becomes an issue. Now it's, oh, well, nah, that has nothing to do with your culture. Oh, well, now that, and then they're going to be like, okay, well, if that's the case, then y'all have to stop wearing blonde hair. Y'all have to stop wearing blonde wigs and weaves because y'all can't naturally grow that. And as Marquette said, right, because this is the same common excuse that you hear from a lot of your sisters, especially on Stop Playing with Trey. We do a bunch of these videos. They will constantly say, well, our Malaysian brothers and sisters, they have blonde hair. Once again, you're talking about a very small group of people that probably don't even care for you. And once again, you will hear them say this with the Somalian sisters, because we say black women can't grow natural straight hair. And they will say, well, our Somalian sisters can. Once again, but it's like, do you care for the Somalians? Do you think the Somalians care for us? They want to distance themselves from us, right? Have you been looking at the news? Once again, Pretty just wants to play dumb to some degree, and it's just like she wants to catch you in the loop of certain things. And it's like, ma'am, like, stop being disingenuous. Stop being disingenuous. You know what true means. Just answer the question. Just talk to him. I mean, like, dog, what are we doing? But this damn bobblehead girl come on here and do this same shit every single time, bro. But, you know, and once again, you know, Pretty brings up the HBCU, right? HBCUs, that is cultural to what? To the black culture, right? Now, I would just ask, what happened if more white folk wanted to start coming to the HBCUs to the point where it started to be more white folk than it is black folk? Right, I would love to see, you know, answers for that, you know, but for, you know, and just to kind of wrap this up, man, you know, someone in the comments, I'm gonna see if I can try to bring the comment up, but somebody in the comments said that, you know, when you look at rap, right, rap, they feel like rap isn't a part of our culture, and they said if it is a part of our culture, they said, and that's an evil culture, right? Now, once again, we have to understand that rap started off clean, right? I mean, you look at some of your top artists back in the 70s and 80s when rap first started, it was clean rap. They talked about what they was going through in their life, but it was clean. Now, of course, as you get older, as you start to move on with the times, you get the 1980s, you start to really get your hardcore rap, you know, with the NWA, people up from New York, and then it gets to the 90s, and then you start to see the rap that we have today, right? And of course, it did get to a point where it did get very degenerate. We understand that, right? But once again, that's still part of our culture, right? That's still part of our culture. And then at the end of the day, once again, you know, because a lot of women like to talk about the rap culture and about how bad it is, and you know, it promotes a lot of violence or whatnot. But here's the thing: when you look at the pillars of the community, when it comes down to the sisterhood, you look at Megan Thee Stallion. When it comes down to rappers, you look at Glorilla, Lotto. All of these women promote taking people's money. Not a single one of them are lyricists. Not a single one of them promote anything, man, of substance. Right? But when you look at our pillars, right? When you look at the rappers, man, who you would essentially call a GOAT, you have Kendrick Lamar, and then you have J. Cole. Then you have, right now you can say Drake. You know, Drake, I mean, he's really not a street guy. We already know this, right? But for the most part, once again, he ain't making a bunch of shoot 'em up, bang, bang music. He makes a bunch of freaking love music. Kendrick Lamar, he's versatile, right? And then J. Cole, all he does is push peace. People, so what are we talking about here? Now, of course, you got NBA Youngboy, but once again, look at his fan base. It's a bunch of freaking Pookies and Ray Rays, man. Come on, dog. A bunch of future doctors. Certain styles, I mean, once again, is a part of our culture. When you look at UK, they say, man, they started the style of Nike Techs and all of that stuff. And it's like, once again, we own a lot of this stuff, man. And once again, they made a great point where they're saying, well, if you just look around, no matter where you go, our culture is going to be somewhere. And this is why I said, when it comes down to rappers, if you want to revive your career, you go overseas, because overseas they love your stuff, right? So when you see, you even had white folk at one point wearing the same outfits that Chief Keef was wearing at one point. Come on, Chief Keef's from Chicago, right? That was pretty much raised around a bunch of killers. And you have a bunch of suburban white kids wanting to dress up like him. He set a trend. That's black culture. So look, guys, I mean, y'all guys let me know down below. Once again, this is another great conversation, bro. This is another great conversation. I know some women, man, gonna have some issues about how we feel about Pretty Intellectual, but once again, she's not intellectual whatsoever. Is she a smart sister? For sure. And she add a lot of good value to conversations, bro, but she can easily be taken off track if you allow it. And it's just sad, man. But y'all guys, let me know down below, man, what do y'all guys think of this video? Do me a huge favor, man. Go ahead, drop some comments, man. I'm ready to go ahead and hear some discussions. Y'all already know I'm gonna be in the comments with y'all.